I'm right here.
So, welcome to the Holistic Kid Show. My name is Zain.
My name's Dula.
And wait, where's Mont?
Oh, I'm right here. I was just rebounding.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Well, we're the Holistic Kids, here to educate us kids from the inside out. Food, breathing, sleep, meditating, red light therapy, hot and cold therapy, EMF protectors, aura rings, continuous glucose monitoring, and when we went to the IFM conference, we saw so much more things that we can do with our health that all influence our bodies.
You guys sound like
you
could be my kids. God, if I was as smart as you were when I was your age, do you know what kind of superpowers I would have right now?
Wow, there is so much we can do for our health. I have always wanted to become a superhero. What can kids do to become a superhuman? Bulletproof, but not have to do with a lot of work. The results of getting jacked. We needed to work smarter, not harder.
You're right. It can get overwhelming. That is why we have the one and only world-renowned expert here with us today, so we can help us kids cut through the noise, and find fast ways to help become the healthiest versions of ourselves.
So today we have with us Dave Asprey, who is actually best known as the founder of Bulletproof Coffee and the entire biohacking movement. He's a 4-time New York Times bestselling author, CEO of Upgrade Labs, and host of a Webby award-winning Top 100 podcast, The Human Upgrade. You've seen him featured in ABC Nightline, The Today Show, Men's Health, Vogue, and even the Dr. Oz Show, CNN, Wired, and Good Morning America, Bloomberg, and hundreds of other outlets. He's basically known as the father of biohacking.
He has spent the last 20 years and a lot of money working alongside world-renowned doctors and throughout leaders to unlock the new levels of human potential.
So thank you so much, Mr. Asprey, for joining us today. We know you were incredibly busy, so we're so thankful and honored for you to join us today.
So thankful.
So thankful.
I'm happy to be here, guys, and you can call me Dave. It's all good, and I love your vibe. You're thinking about things that a lot of people don't think about, and it's funny. We talk about our health. Everybody wants to be healthy, but I got to ask you, you got to be really truthful. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing in your mind, is it, I want to be healthy? No.
Not really, no.
No. What do you want more than being healthy? And it's normal to want something besides health when you're young.
I don't know. I don't really think about it that much. But
you just want to have a good day.
Yeah, a good day.
You want to be happy. You want to grow. You want to be curious. You want to probably, depending on your age, you probably want to, play with your friends. You want to maybe meet a cute girl and, pull her ponytails or whatever you do these days. You know what I mean? You're building your life and you're building your neural networks in your brain. And so if you were really sick and spent a year in the hospital, you'd be like, I just want to be healthy. And so when you're talking with other kids and with yourself, if you have a decision, this is going to be a lot of fun or it's going to taste really good, and I know it's not the healthiest choice, it's okay that your body wants to make that choice. And it's okay if you decide to let your body do that. The marshmallow fluff, it's actually, I know it's not good for me, but I might eat it today. And the trick is to understand your body, it wants to thrive and be powerful, right? And what kids are wired to want, and teenagers, I have 2 teenagers of my own, and I was one, we're wired to want control over our body. Why are my emotions doing this? Why did I get mad for no reason? Why did I, yell at my brother or my mom when I didn't really choose to yell? And and it's frustrating because what you think in your mind doesn't always match what you're feeling. And it's that lack of the word is congruence, they don't match, right? And those things are naturally higher on your list than health. And when you realize, the way to have more control over my emotional state is to change what I eat. So now changing what you eat isn't about being healthy. It's about being in control of yourself, right? And so one of the things that I recommend with my kids, okay, you guys want some sugar? Let's do sugar. And we just did a day of like bonkers level of sugar. Right. Well, just eat everything as much. And of course, by the end of the day, they're like, ugh. Right. And that's a kind of a reminder. Okay. You get to choose how you show up at school. You get to choose how you feel. You get to choose whether your emotions are all over the place or whether you feel grounded and happy and focused and like it's just so smooth and your mind does what you want and like you just feel so good. And it's not that your mom's making you eat something, and it's not that you're doing it because there's like a moral value. You know, you're a good man if you eat, the salad instead of the fries. Like I'm choosing the salad because I like the way I behave and I like the way my mind feels and I like the way I treat other people when I choose foods that work for me. And your body wants that level of like this before it wants to be healthy. And so it's kind of cool, but the why behind why you biohack is because you can be smarter than everyone else, because you can have less emotional all up and downs. And boys and girls, everyone has emotional up and downs, especially when we're young, because frankly, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that does executive function, it's only halfway done getting baked. Like if it was a brownie in the oven and you put your finger in it, it would be all sticky still. So that finishes around 24. So all you got to do now is just like eat enough butter and get your protein in and avoid the toxins that so many of your friends are eating, red number 2 and MSG and NutraSweet and 2 cups of sugar every day. It's no wonder that they aren't getting good grades. It's no wonder that they're just not able to focus. Am I making any sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
right.
basically,
any questions?
So yeah, I mean, we are so inspired for all the amazing work you do. So we would love to know how it all started, as your story can inspire so much kids. We would love to know your story.
All right. So when I was a kid, I had Asperger's syndrome. You have any friends with autism or Asperger's?
Well, yeah, I know a lot of people with autism.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot more common now than it was when I was a kid, but I had it. So I grew up, I also had some ADHD in there, and I had something called oppositional defiant disorder, which means if you tell me to do something, automatically I'll say, I'm not going to do that. I still kind of have a little bit of that when it comes to, people telling me to eat kale. But so I had that going on, and schools were a little bit rougher than most schools now. I never threw a first punch, but I've been in 100 fights by the time I graduated from high school. I never started a fight, but I always won because I was bigger than everyone else because I was fat. So I was kind of the fat computer hacker, socially awkward kid. It was not a fun time for me. But I had really good grades. I could barely stay awake in class, but I'm fortunate. I'm smart, even though I didn't have many social skills. And so every child, every teenager, there's all kinds of like the movie Mean Girls. Have you guys ever seen that movie?
No, but I've heard about it.
Got it. So there's always mean people in high school and in school, right? And what they can say really hurts, right? And we learn like, I'm not going to show that it hurts because then they'll just do it more, right? So you build this like invincibility thing. So I had all that going on, and I got this message from that like, I'll show them, I'll be successful. So I was pretty anxious, right? And pretty angry too. So I get out, go to college, almost fail out of college because I didn't know how to eat. Like if I eat, I am so smart if I eat the food that works for me. And if you feed me stuff that I'm sensitive to that might be okay for you, or if you feed me the fake sweeteners and colors and all that crap that aren't okay for anyone, I revert to being way more emotional and to being, frankly, probably 20 IQ points lower than my normal brain. I'm pretty smart now. It's because I built my hardware to be smart and I know what kind of gas to put in my car. If you put the wrong kind of gas in your car, it's not going to run right. So I learned that I'm pretty miserable a lot of the time, and I was pretty unhealthy. I had strep throat a lot. I had allergies, asthma, eczema, digestive stuff. All I had to do was stop eating the things that were not okay with me. Like I could have been so much healthier. I just didn't know because there weren't people like you spreading the news in a way that I would have known. In fact, I think most people didn't understand it back then. And I decided, you know what'll fix it? I'll be famous. You guys want to be influencers?
Kind of.
Yeah.
We wanna educate people,
There you
but
go.
not get into like the entire influencer life and everything.
Good for you, because being famous is actually really toxic. It's one of the quickest ways to become miserable. And I've interviewed an expert on the perils of fame, especially when you're young and it happens rapidly. It has its benefits, but it's not, the goal should not be to be famous. If your goal is to help people and fame happens as a result of that, okay, fine. But just always remember, it's not about you. It's about who you're helping. So I decided this. So I'm 23, and I started the first company to ever sell anything over the internet. So e-commerce hadn't been named yet. The web browser didn't exist yet. These are things you've had since you were born. So I sold a t-shirt that said caffeine, my drug of choice, out of my t-shirt, or out of my dorm room. And I have my picture in an Entrepreneur magazine when I'm 23 years old, which is very young. And this molecule, the caffeine molecule that's on my bicep here, that was on the t-shirt. And they're like, hey, everybody, this kid's selling t-shirts over the inner something or another, because the internet was even a thing that most people knew about. And I didn't realize, historically speaking, that was the first time. I was just trying to make a little extra money. But then I'm like, look at me. I got my picture in a magazine, in a big magazine. I'm so cool. In fact, I weigh 300 pounds, whatever. And it made me happy for like 10 minutes. I'm like, oh no. So I thought, well, I'm lonely all the time. I'll try getting married before I'm ready. And I got divorced a couple of years later. That did not make me happy. Okay, I'm going to try getting rich. So when I'm 26, I make $6 million. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, right? If you go back 25 years, that's the same as $20 million today, because the government keeps stealing money by printing money and giving it away. So inflation's happened. So it was an unimaginable amount of money, enough for my entire life. And I looked at another friend at the same company. I said, I'll be happy when I have $10 million. I'm like, crap. I tried relationships. I tried money. I tried fame. Nothing makes you happy, because happiness is an internal state, and no one had ever taught me that. And if I could go back now, I probably would have tried, making a big enough difference to be in a magazine. And it's always nice to make money, because money helps you lubricate whatever it is you're doing in the world that matters. But what I never studied was biohacking, because I didn't know that it was possible. It didn't have a name until I gave it one, until I was desperate. And if I'd have known what I know now, I probably wouldn't have had those drinks in college those times. I probably would have learned how to sleep and recognize that sleep makes me show up the way I was desperate to show up. I thought working hard did. So I would stay up until I couldn't stay up anymore every night, and I'd study, or I'd work, or I'd do my company. That's so bad for you. Like, I just wish I'd have known. I know I damaged my health, things I've probably recovered from by now, but it's hard. But I would have studied, how do I manage my hardware, my body the way I want? And then I would have studied relationships. They don't teach you this at school. You're going to learn about relationships in like 7th grade. Like, they're not going to teach you any skill there. And at home, we always learn about relationships from our parents, and they learned about it from their parents. And it's like, it's one lens. And all parents, including me as a parent, like, we screw up sometimes. We don't even know when we screw up half the time. We're all doing our very best, right? And sometimes for you, on that one day, it wasn't the right thing. And we don't know. And so what I would have done is I would have started studying relationships early on, because it turns out, just like there's algorithms that I teach for, here's how to know what to do during your day in order to be powerful. There's another set of rules. Here's what makes a good partner. Here's what makes a good friend. Here's what makes a good girlfriend. Here's what builds a community. Here's how to behave in a relationship to build trust. And there's no way anyone could expect you or me to know that stuff, unless we were so lucky that someone who knew that showed it to us. And when they showed it to us, we didn't know why they were doing it, so we might not even do it. So if I could go back, I would have put way more time into understanding what makes me feel good and have energy and be powerful all the time, and I would have said, what are the skills that I'm lacking on how to connect with other people? How do I be the best in the world at being a good friend and at being a good boyfriend? And if I had have studied those things, it would have saved me most of the suffering I've been through. Because in the world of biohacking, your body processes reality in this specific order. And this happens before you can even think. The first thing is, before your brain does things, is something scary? If so, immediately run away from, kill, or hide. And if someone throws a snake at you, you're going to jump. And you didn't choose to jump. Your body jumped because snakes are inherently scary, and it jumped before you could think. Well, okay, that's fear. So all the energy, whether you have a lot of energy or a little, it's better to have a lot, it goes into fear. Do I need to run away from, kill, or hide right now? And if it's criticism from a bully, it's going to push the fear button, fear of being ostracized. And then the next one is food. If you're hungry all the time because you don't have your minerals because you're eating the wrong foods, but it's okay, food. And the third thing your body does when you're of the appropriate age is fertility. Like, that person looks really attractive. So before you even had a chance to decide, your body started going, should I kill it? Should I eat it? Or should I try to mate with it? All life does this, including humans. And only after that comes the next F word, which is friend. So you're wired to need friendships and to need like an intimate partner as you grow up. Those are as important as food and safety, right? But we can learn how to be safe. We can learn how to eat. But who teaches us how to have relationships, like our family relationships, in a way that's 10 times better than everyone else? And when you do that, you build a community of friends who nourish you. It's as important as what you eat is the friends you keep. And who knows how to do that? Right? We all just try stuff, and then I don't like this person, I don't like that person. We've all had a friend who we thought was a friend, but who wasn't a friend. We've all been betrayed by people like that. It happens a lot. So there are books, there are experts on that. So biohacking, change the environment around you and inside you so you have control of your own biology. So you can be smarter, faster, more powerful, live longer. But it also means you can be more loving and you can be more discerning. Do you guys know that word, discerning, what that means?
I've definitely heard it before, but whenever someone says it, I'm like, do I know what it means? I don't really know what it means.
What a great answer. Like I got a feel for it, but not right. Discerning means you're great at selecting what's good and real versus what's not good. So imagine you go to the store and there's a bunch of, like, what's your favorite fruit?
Mangoes.
Pomegranate.
Mangoes and pomegranate. Okay, these are perfect ones. Let's go with mangoes. So you go to the store and you love mangoes. So you look at all the mangoes there and you're like, that one mango is perfectly ripe. It's not all black inside. It's kind of squishy. I know it's going to be juicy and it's got a little sap in it. Like, that's the mango. So your powers of discernment for mangoes are pretty good. Now, if you had 10 kids in the classroom with you and you're like, which of those is going to be a loyal, trustworthy friend who's going to help me grow? How do you know how to pick that kid as well as you pick the mango?
Well, probably because like most of the kids they might look different, but they're like someone that's nice, that looks nice, is actually mean in the inside, and someone that looks mean is nice in the inside. So it's really hard to predict that, because in the mango, something that looks ripe is usually ripe.
You are wise. Exactly. Right. So the kid with the punk hair may be a really nice one, and vice versa. So you can't judge a person by how they look, although it helps sometimes. So how do you know? Right. Well, it turns out there's books about that. And there's also a whole bunch of stuff that we're doing to each other right now that we can't see around me influencing you and you influencing me. It can have to do with how we move our bodies, the way I'm pitching my voice. If I speak in a certain way, Some of that's conscious for me, some of it's not. And as you're developing friendships, that's a part of biohacking. It's like, how do I be an epic friend? And there's a study. Do you know what makes kids the most popular?
No.
The amount of people that follow them.
Well, yeah, but
That's a measure. But if you were to walk around the school and be like, who's the most popular kid? Well, the scientists have been trying to figure this out for a long time. And you want to know the answer? It's part of biohacking. They drink coffee. No, I'm kidding. That's not it. What it is it's that they have the most number of micro interactions that are positive. And what is a micro interaction? It means that when they walk down the hallway, for a second, they'll say, "Hey, John, nice to see you." You know, "Hey, whatever the heck your name is. Hi." Like they're connecting. But how do you connect with someone? These are all skills that are as important as like, how do you kick a soccer ball, right? Or how do you pass a math test? So it turns out the secret to being popular is just walking down the hallway and just saying, "Hey, like your backpack. Hey, really good to see you." Not about complimenting, just letting people feel seen. So if you were to develop your ability to see another person just for a second and let them feel that you saw them, which is different than you actually just looking at them, but they actually felt seen, they're gonna be like, "That is the nicest, best guy out there," right? And we can measure this because what biohacking is cool is we can measure anything. And so, well, what works better? And that one skill, man, when you're young, part of what your body's making you learn how to do is how do you build a tribe, right? And the way you build a tribe is you be healthy, so your brain works, so you know how to eat and you get sleep. So now you got energy and you got focus, and then you learn the steps it takes to connect with people. And that makes your body feel safer and happier and well supported. And then if some douchebag says something mean to you, everyone else is like, "Don't do that. That's dumb." Because that's a guy who sees me. Isn't that kind of powerful stuff? How are you gonna do that if you just drink like 6 gallons of Diet Coke and like I would have, and my brain's all over the place and I don't even see it? Like you got to have the presence first to do that. And it's super powerful because part of you being happy is your friends. They're a part of the world around you. And you pick good friends and you realize some people are actually too traumatized and too mean, and you don't want them. Just like you're not going to pick the rotten mango and you're not going to pick the green mango. So you can see everyone, let everyone feel seen. And then you pick the very best people and say, "I want to spend more time with you." And they want to spend time with you. If you do that, that's as important as picking the right foods. And then all of a sudden, school's easier, homework's easier. And if you have a bad day, there's people who have your back, right? And this is the recipe. And there's a recipe for everything. And if I'd have studied that, and I'd have studied how to be a good boyfriend, because it turns out boys and girls and men and women have different operating systems. There's experts who've written all this. There's people way older than me who've written the most brilliant books. I had a lot of catching up to do. So I started interviewing those guys in my 20s, which sounds like forever, but 20 isn't very far from where you guys are, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems unimaginable because you're younger, but it's only a few years. And so start reading the books, and you're first like, why would you read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? What the heck? You guys ever heard of that book?
Nope.
No.
There's a guy who's sold something like 25 million copies of books about relationships, right? And there's another one, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a famous one.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one.
Oh, let me recommend 2 books that I recommended for my kids that will blow your mind. Okay. One of them is,
Can I guess? Is it this one?
that will blow your mind. Fast This Way, 100%. And I've interviewed the authors of both of these books on my show on The Human Upgrade. You might want to link to those episodes for people. One of them is called Influence. And this professor, he went undercover with like the slimiest salespeople on the planet, right? Like used car salesmen, insurance salesmen. And he's like, how do you get people to buy your stuff? Like, how do you manipulate people? and he writes, and it's really easy to read. He's like, you know that someone is manipulating you if you see this, if you see this, if you feel this. And it's like a recipe for knowing when a company or a person is trying to manipulate you. And man, if I'd have read that when I was a teenager, I would have been invincible for companies trying to make me believe crap that wasn't true. It would be really hard to program me, right? So that book is precious because these are the invisible things that happen that make you feel a certain way. Like, oh, I really like that guy. You might really like that guy because he's a rotten mango, but he knows how to fool you. It's like, that's the perfect outside. You open it up, it's rotten inside. How do you do that? And then the other book that I bought for my kids is called The 48 Laws of Power. And my daughter read this when she was 15 and she loved it. And this is a collection of stories throughout history about how people become powerful and rich and famous and how they stay that way. And there's 48 laws they follow. And some of them don't make any sense until you read the book. So when I started my career, I started college when I was 16. I started my career when I was still pretty young. And I'm in these meetings with all these executives who are 10 years older than me. I'm like, these people are nuts. Nothing they do makes any sense. And then I read that book. I'm like, oh, this is how the game is really played. So if you had superpowers you install now, every book you read from a master, it's like installing a new app on your phone. It's a new ability, a new way to see the world that you didn't have before, which is why absorbing info the way you do is so admirable. And all of a sudden with influence, like, oh, now I have the ability to run an app that tells me when someone's manipulating me. And they're not doing it through your brain, they're doing it through your nervous system. So now you've got like a firewall to keep the douchebags away. And then the second thing with this 48 Laws of Power, like that's why that person, maybe it's a boss, maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's, a bully at school, they're behaving in a certain way. And it doesn't seem to make sense, but it does. And if you were to absorb those two books as part of your biohacking, you would say, oh, now I have a whole new way to see the world. And because you've learned how to eat and how to sleep and how to use red light, how to do fasting, how to make your mind and your body powerful, you're able to use those advanced skills. So suddenly you're surrounded with people you just really enjoy, who you can trust. And if they do something untrustworthy, they're the kind of people you can say, hey man, you stabbed me in the back, and you might have this whole story. Like, how could you? And you tell them that, they go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think about it. But they apologize and they mean it and they make it right. And those are the people you want to be around. But a lot of people, especially kids, you'll tell them that and they'll say, it wasn't my fault. It was your fault. It was her fault. It was the other person's fault. I'm a good person. I didn't do anything wrong. You know anyone like that? Always blaming other people. Those are the ones. Yeah. Discernment is like, whether they're upset or not with me, those are not the people I'm going to engage with. I'm keeping my energy here. I'm going to put my energy into the people who say they're sorry when they screw up. And when you eat the right way and you biohack yourself, you become the kind of man or woman, for other listeners, who is absolutely willing to own it when you screw up. Because guess what kids are really good at doing? Screwing up. You don't have enough experience to do everything perfectly. Neither do I. But as you gain more experience, you make less mistakes. So you're totally going to do things like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. That's so embarrassing. But when you have power because of how you eat, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that I offended you. I didn't mean to do that. Like, how do I make it right? And instead of like feeling this inside of you, you'll still feel some of that, but it won't be as bad. You just have courage, because courage comes from having power, and power comes from having a body that works right. And suddenly you become a leader because people respect you at a deep level because you've done the work on yourself physically, which allows your brain to work, allows you to have emotional regulation. And you've done the work to understand when someone's interacting with you, is it real? And that is the recipe for becoming the next Elon Musk. That is what it takes.
Oh wow, you are so empowering.
So empowering.
So basically, biohacking is becoming the leader of your own self and controlling your emotions and not letting your emotions control you. Right?
It's partly controlling your emotions. That's step one. And so controlling your emotions is what adults do. But you ever been in a meeting or a classroom with someone and you know that the other kid's really angry, but he's controlling his emotions and he's like, it's fine. No, I'm happy. I'm not mad. You're like, yeah, BS. We all know what's going on in there, right? But at least he's controlling his emotions, because if he didn't, he would have punched you, right? Like, so the reason, especially for boys, we control emotions so we don't hurt people. Because a person, especially men who has no emotional control, will do violence when their emotions are like they don't even mean to necessarily. They're going to smack you and they're going to act out. And that can be dangerous, right? So we all learn a level of control. So step one, yes, control. Step two is you learn how to, instead of just controlling yourself in the presence of emotion, you actually learn that the emotions themselves have a reason and that you can manage those emotions. And with biohacking, it's a lot easier. My next book is called Heavily Meditated instead of Medicated. And I go through all the different tools that you can use for that. But one of them you already talked about is breath work, right? So one is, okay, I'm going to control my emotion. Or, wow, I noticed, because you've started paying attention to the stuff that's happening in your body, like tension in the chest or something, or a feeling in the stomach. Like, okay, I'm not going to act. You can even say, I need a minute to just process. And then you go do some box breaths, right? And you come back, and now the emotion has passed through and it's calmed and you're back in charge. That is a boss move that very few, even adults, know how to do. To ask for a minute and to regulate yourself. And the tools of biohacking help you regulate yourself, right? And so the emotions will be there. And over time, if you become an advanced biohacker, you can learn how to turn off that response. So there were times where in my life, especially when I was younger, you criticize me or like tell me I'm wrong. And I used to believe this, that if I'm wrong, it means I'm bad, right? A lot of people have this mistake, especially when we're young. And Ben Franklin was wrong 10,000 times inventing, actually that was Thomas Edison's, anyway, different guy. The guy who invented the light bulb. He was wrong 10,000 times. And each time he learned something. And then he finally found something that worked, right? So it turns out being wrong just means you made a mistake. It means you learned something. Maybe you have to even apologize, but it doesn't mean you're bad. But I had my emotions set up so that if I was wrong, it meant I was bad, and I was a bad person. It meant I was unlovable, and a lot of emotions a lot of kids have. And making that switch, say, oh, I was wrong, big deal. I'm going to be wrong a lot. I'm not going to get 100 on every test. I'm going to say things that are totally wrong. And when I find, oh my gosh, that was wrong. And you're going to, not empty the dishwasher when you said you would. And you're just going to apologize and empty the dishwasher instead of yelling because you said defending yourself. And because you're like, oh, I was wrong. I'm wrong a lot. And learning to have that emotion, that it's self-love is what it is. And understanding that there really isn't such a thing as a bad person, and you're probably not one if you're curious if you are, but there are dangerous people. They're emotionally dangerous because they will blame you for what they did, and they'll make you think you're crazy. And that's where discernment, trusting yourself and saying, I'm going to screw up a lot. I'm going to make friends with the wrong people. I'm going to eat the wrong foods. I'm probably going to do things that I wish I hadn't done. I've done all of those things. The strongest, best people on earth have made tons of mistakes. They were wrong and they were good. And understanding that is so powerful when you're in school, right? Because, okay. And the ability to apologize is an amazing ability. And biohacking just, okay, I have the power. But if you're running on bad sleep and junk food, how are you ever going to have enough energy to manage that emotion when it comes up? And then to actually do the work to just let it go, right? This is why the biohacking stuff that gives you power gives you the ability to regulate yourself and the ability to show up in a way that you respect. And man, if someone just told me this, the amount of suffering in my life from being a total asshole, it's a lot. I was a mean person when I was in high school because I thought anytime anyone said anything that wasn't perfect about me, that they were threatening my life. I didn't think that, but my body felt that way. So I would react, right? Like I said, I was wrong, but I learned. So if you get 10% of what I'm saying, it should bring you a lot of peace. And peace is the hardest thing for most humans to have. And when you have enough energy, because you just learned how to run your body, you can actually be feeling peaceful. And you can have, you failed a test, you're peaceful. You got an A on a test, you're peaceful. You ask a girl out and she says no, you're peaceful. You ask a girl out, she says yes, you're peaceful. And that makes you the most powerful person in the room by an order of magnitude, right? And it comes from having working biology and being kind to yourself and being able to see other people. All of those you can study and learn from books, probably not TikTok, to be honest. But it's there. And the people who've spent 20, 30, 40, 50 years on this have taken the time to distill 50 years of knowledge into 6 hours of reading a book. And your best bet right now is suck the knowledge out of those books like you are with Fast This Way. It took me a decade of fasting to figure out all that stuff and working with tens of thousands of people. And I gave you my best knowledge that I spent thousands of hours putting into a form so you could just get it. Right? So take on more books. And I don't want to be a jerk and say less social media. Social media is actually fun. Let's admit it. It's also kind of addictive. We all know that. But if you set aside like a half hour, not to read whatever nonsense the teachers, whatever the teachers tell you to read, some of it's good, some of it's a complete waste of time. Find a book that has a promise about who you want to be. You get to be who you want to be. And study those books and read those books. And if you're partway through the book and it just doesn't connect, there is no reason you have to finish it. Put it on the shelf and read a different one. And when you read the right ones, like you'll feel it in your chest. Like, yeah, like this is so interesting. Like, why did I not know this? Can you imagine what I'm going to do? And you get that excitement and let that excitement guide you. And you'll have all the tools that most 30-year-olds dream of and don't know exist. That's what happens because you're biohacking right now.
So for everybody listening, obviously, Mr. Dave is such an empowering, inspiring person. But remember, like you said, try to improve yourself. Try to become the very best version of yourself and try to be the best person to the people around you, because that will benefit you. And that's how you be truly happy. Is that right?
That is right. And the most important step is what they tell you when you get on the airplane. If there's an emergency, put the oxygen mask on first and then help the person next to you. And so if you're like, I'm going to help other people, but I'm not going to eat and sleep, you're not going to be able to do it. So your job is to put your health and, more importantly, your power first, right? And that's not selfish. That's the only way that you're going to show up in your life for yourself and for your friends and your community and your family the way you want to. What society will teach you, certainly what I learned, is that you should just work hard. That's wrong. If you work hard first, you will not take care of your body. So your health and performance are the most important things in the world. They're more important than what your teacher says. They're more important, she's going to hate me for this, than what your mom says. Although she's probably right. Right? So those are the most important things. And when you always put that first, then when you interact with other people, you can be proud of the way you do it. Right? And that's with all the things you just said, that take care of yourself first and then do those things in order. And all of a sudden, people around you support you and they genuinely respect you. And you have a tribe of people you love spending time with because they don't want to take you down, right? And focus on those friendships and keep them. And you will find that the world you live in is entirely different than the one you think you do.
That's why that's how I was thinking. Be the best, because everybody, and it's so easy to be great nowadays because everybody else is just trying to be normal. And just because someone might think it's weird that you're trying to improve yourself, doesn't mean that you should stop.
Dude,
because why do people?
You know what being normal means? I mean, if you guys have been to those math classes with basic statistics, being normal means being average. And if someone tells you to be normal, you can be like, you're a muggle, and I'm not interested in being average. Like, you can pound sand. I'm going to be above average. You don't have to tell them that. That's probably not a way to make friends, but that's your vibe. You just be like, look, it's okay to be normal. Like, there's a lot of normal people. Gross. Like, do you think Michael Phelps is normal? Do you think anyone who's ever broken a world record is normal? Do you think Elon Musk is normal? Do you think I'm normal? Normal is the worst thing you could ever be, literally. So if someone says you should be normal, it's like they're trying to put a curse on you. And understand this too. You will simultaneously be above average and below average, depending on what you want to do. You might be below average height and above average intelligence, or vice versa. So different aspects of you. But the way you treat yourself, you can make that way abnormal because it's so much better than most people. And when you do that, everything else you do is above average. So anyone who says be normal is cursing you.
Okay. Because that's what we get a lot. They said, oh, why are you eating like this? Why are you trying to eat like healthy food? Why are you trying to eat natural food and not eating McDonald's and Doritos? Like, why are you so weird, right?
You know, one answer that I would be tempted to say is to say, I don't want to fart as much as you. Right? I mean, seriously, just be like, you know, I like the way my skin looks. Do you want me to pop that for you? Like the kids who are saying that are kids who are eating a ton of junk food. They don't even know how they could feel. And the more junk food you eat, the meaner you are to other people because your brain isn't working right. And let's face it, even very well-nourished kids, especially between 5th and 11th grade, you guys are mean to each other. Oh my God. Like it leaves a mark. I have worked with thousands of big power CEOs, men and women. The number of them who still carry emotional marks from being bullied in 7th or 8th grade. My friend Craig, he runs a 1,200 person company. And he did my neuroscience program. And he said, I just realized that all of my success in life is because I was bullied in 7th grade and I was just trying to prove I was good enough. But if you take care of yourself, so you actually know and feel, dude, I'm more than good enough. That means you get to choose what you do instead of other people basically scarring you emotionally. So you feel like you have to do something. You have nothing to prove to anyone on earth except yourself. And it's just hard to remember that if you ate a bag of Cheetos for lunch. It's just how the world works. So when your friends say that, you can say, oh, I'm not eating healthy. Like that sounds gross. I'm eating because I really like how I feel. As a matter of fact, when I eat this way, I get better grades. And besides, this food tastes better. Like, have you tried what you're eating? Gross. Right? And if you own it, instead of being reaction, you're like, I'm eating this way because it's better and because I'm actually making my brain work and I really like it. And you're like, I eat this way because I want to. And if you say that fully with peace inside you, they're like, wow. Right? And it's okay to tease them about what they eat too. Just be like, oh, you're drinking some of that stupid juice. Don't get in fights because I said that. I'm good at inciting things with bad words. But you just be like, oh, you're drinking some of the obesity sauce. That doesn't look very good, but I feel you. It probably tastes great. The other thing that I wish someone had taught me is that when someone tries to insult you, agree with them. It drives them insane because then there's nothing there. And they're like, oh, you're so weird. You're eating healthy stuff. You're like, yeah, it is really weird. And then you stop and they're like, where's my reaction? Right. And what are they going to try it again? And like, well, you look really stupid eating whatever that is. Like, you know, looking stupid has been one of the things most consistent in my life. In fact, I think I'm an expert at looking stupid right now. Like they can't do anything. It's only when they're trying to control you because it feels good to control other people. And the thing that drives people like that the most insane is when you just agree with them and they get no energy from you. So what I would do if I could go back instead of making fun of them until they got in a fight with me, which is what I used to do. So now it's like, heck yeah. And every now and then when they're just being stupid, there's nothing like saying, so's your mom. And just got to throw that in there. One of the things I've dealt with, you might deal with as well. Those are just trolls, the people who are saying that to you. And a lot of people who are bullied, they grow up to be adult trolls, and they're on YouTube in the comments section, or they come to social media. And I finally realized pretty recently that these are just adults who are doing the same thing that we all faced in 8th grade from mean people. Since that's the game we're playing, like people will say things like, Dave, you're supposed to be an expert in anti-aging and you look old. I literally on Instagram, I'll respond, that's not what your mom said. It's right, but it's like they're going straight to bullying energy. I'm like, okay, like let's play with bullying, but we're playing. At least I am. They're all upset, I'm sure. So the problem with that is if you play with a bully in school, they could get really, really upset. So then just agree. Yep, everything you said is true. If I eat this way, probably my ripped abs and my abundant health, it's going to repel all the women. You're so right. Maybe if I want to. If I want to get a little bit fatter, I'll ask for a bite of your lunch. Would that be okay? Like, just own it and just understand. There's a famous quote. Helen Keller. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we still study her. One of my favorite quotes is, "What other people think of me is none of my business." Like when you do the biohacking, when you do the things make you feel good and you like your life and you read the kind of books you like, it doesn't matter if everyone else agrees, and you do the things that are of interest to you and you tape your mouth at night. I know my kids do that. They started in high school or when my daughter, she was 13, she's like, I sleep better. This is great. So she tapes her mouth. Mouth taping improves sleep and you don't have bad breath in the morning and you don't get cavities. It's great. So, but if people like it or don't like it, it just doesn't matter because what they think of you is none of your business. The story they tell themselves about you isn't real. No one will ever know you the way you know you. Not your mom, not your brothers, not your best friends. They'll know you very, very well. But no one else can live your life and feel everything you feel because then they wouldn't feel what they feel. And one of the things that makes us feel lonely is like, no one's ever going to really understand me. Well, so just take that in. No one's ever going to fully understand you except for you. And you're not even going to fully understand you unless you become a biohacker. And then you'll understand a lot more of you. And what that means is, like, I don't understand everything, but I know how to make the system rock. And that means that I can show up and I can be the only one in the room who's still in charge of myself when everyone else is losing their mind. And that means you can be the one that helps the most. And that's why biohacking is so important. Living longer, great. Being healthy, great. Being powerful and being able to take over when the world needs that, that's worthy. That's what real superhumans do. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, I got time for one more question.
So, I
think usually because you were saying how biohacking actually it changes the way you think, right?
It does. It changes the amount of energy you have, which means you can think better.
So how can kids biohack their way to becoming a bulletproof superhero human in a smarter, not harder way?
I need to know this.
And what's one
Mod
advice,
needs to know.
one tip that they can start today?
Yes.
Because it seems like, oh, this is like an adult thing that, once we're in our 20s, we'll get into.
No.
What can kids do today?
Okay. Most important thing. I want you to be very, very lazy. What do you think? Could you do that?
Yeah.
Pretty easy,
Yeah,
right?
I could do it. It's just depends on what you mean by lazy.
Here's what I mean. If it was your job to plow a field, someone's told you, you have to work hard. Like, okay, I'm going to plow the field. I'm going to get myself a pickaxe and a shovel, and I'm going to go plow the field. Or you could get a tractor. The guy who got the tractor was lazy. The guy who worked hard was a dumbass. What I want you to understand is that the world is set up to tell you that you must work hard for everything you do. And that if you work hard and earn something, you're good. And that If you didn't work hard and earn something, you're bad. Those are people setting you up to use you. The reality is that in biohacking, I want you to use the tools that give you the most results in the least amount of time. And what that means is, how do you know that you got more sleep in less time? Did you even know you could do that? You can. So you get a sleep tracker, like a Ring or a fitness tracker. There's all kinds of different ways to do that. And you wake up in the morning, like, how did I do? Did I get an A+ on my sleep? Oh, you got your tracker right there, right? Or did I get a C on my sleep? If you got a C on your sleep, do you know why you got a C on your sleep? If you don't, now there's curiosity and a problem to solve. And if you do this right, you'll find that you wake up feeling good, even if you didn't get as much sleep as you wanted. And when you wake up feeling good, classes are easy. You're not cranky. You don't forget to do something you said you were going to do. You don't punch your brother, even though he probably deserves it. I'm not pointing at one of you or the others, right? So more sleep in less time is lazy, because otherwise you should work hard at sleep, right? And you're saying, I'm going to get healthy. I'm just going to every morning go for a 1-hour run. What you want to do is just say, oh, what are the activities that make my body strong, make my brain strong, that don't take a lot of time? And you do those. And you also ask yourself, what are the things I do that make my body and my brain weak? And there's lots of those, like surfing social media isn't particularly good for the brain. So you put a timer on it. So do less of the things that make you weak, but you'll probably do that. You'll probably also eat cake sometimes because it's a birthday party and cake is delicious, right? But you don't do it very often. And if you do it, you know why that night you didn't sleep as well or why things didn't work. You don't have to be perfect, but you choose the things that work better. So for kids, figure out how to get the results you want without wasting 1 ounce of your precious energy, and then take that energy and use it to learn something new. That means know the tools and track your results. You want to make your brain work better? Okay. Read, let's see, what's my brain book? It's called Headstrong. You read Headstrong, and I will teach you how to raise your IQ by at least 12 points. One thing you could do as a kid that will blow everyone's mind is software. It's free on your phone. It's called Dual N-Back Training. And I'm going to challenge you to do this. Here's why you won't want to. It is the dumbest, hardest game. And if you want to ever feel like a failure, you do this dumb game. And it's a little grid. And it lights up in order and different things. And it shows a letter or a number in order. And your job is to remember where the grid was lit up 4 moves ago and what the number or letter was. And it's almost impossible to do this. So every day you do it for 10 minutes and you feel like the world's worst failure. And it's so frustrating. You just want to throw it down. And by the way, I have taught people with $1 billion this thing, and they throw it down and they don't want to do it because you just have to fail over and over and over. But if you have the willpower to say, I don't care if I fail, I'm just going to do this game for 10 minutes a day because I made a promise to myself that I would, or better yet, because I bet my brother $2 that I would. If you do that, after about 14 days, suddenly it's like a new power emerges in your brain and you've doubled your working memory capacity. That'll raise the average person's IQ by 12 points. So if you're willing to experience frustration and failure for 10 minutes a day for 14 days, and then do it with less failure for the next 5 or so days, you will have a brain that remembers things that makes everyone around you go, how did you even do that? It's free. All it takes is you pushing yourself past the feeling of frustration and failure. You think you can do it?
I think we could do that.
I think we can do it.
All right. So make a pact with each other that you'll do it. This is a good hint for kids everywhere. It's easy to say you want to do something and then to not do it if you're in charge. But if you tell a friend and you make a bet with them, like, I'll do something I don't want to do for you if I don't do this, because your biology hates losing, right? So now you're like, I said I was going to do this, so I'm going to do it just because I don't want to lose. And that'll motivate you more than I did it because I wanted to be, a stronger, smarter, faster human. So use your friends for accountability, right? And talk about the fact you're doing it, share it with people. And you'd be amazed. All of a sudden you're in class and you just, all of a sudden you remember stuff that doesn't even seem possible. Right. So it's like all these superpowers are sitting inside your brain, inside your body. There's no labels. Like there's knobs and dials and all these controls. You don't even know they're there, and they're not labeled. And when you turn them on, you're going, I had no idea that was possible. Right. And there's ones for physical performance. There's ones for mental performance. There's ones for calming your nervous system. There's ones for having more focus. There's special breaths. Even if you get into, advanced types of yoga, there's certain positions you put your fingers in, or acupuncture meridians you can push on, and they do stuff. It's just not in the common knowledge. So you want to be more like Doctor Strange than Wolverine, although they're both cool. Am I making sense?
So
out for you.
Yeah, that's really empowering.
So empowering.
I got another trick for you.
Okay.
I didn't empower you even a little bit. When someone empowers you, it means they're giving you their power. You already have all of this power inside of you. I don't have the ability to empower you. I can only educate you because the power is already inside you. You just haven't tapped into it yet. You see the difference? Like I'm not empowering you. I'm just telling you where to look for what you've already got. Like it's in you. And all you've got to do is learn how to use it. And there's so much like joy and happiness and power and things you can do to change the world. And it's just sitting right there. And the world is set up to make you never notice. Right. And that's not empowering. That's just, hey, look down there. Like it's teaching. Right. But you own all this. You were born with all this. All you got to do is find it.
Wow.
Speechless.
So thank you so much, Mr. Asprey or Dave. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your time and wisdom today. This was such a powerful episode. Everyone needs to get Mr. Asprey's or Dave's books today. And
right.
a lot more.
Thanks for reading. I'm honored that you take your time and attention to read my books. Keep reading books, and you'll find that you know all the stuff and that you can handle anything life brings your way. Even if it feels like you can't, you have this inner sense. You just know you've got this, even if you've never done it before. Man, that's a superpower if there ever was one. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Well, it's our pleasure.
It really is our pleasure. So now let's recap Mr. Asprey's key points. Power comes from when you have done the work on yourself. You get to be who you want to be. You are building the neural networks in your brain with every decision you make. Your body wants to thrive and be powerful. We are wired to be in control of our bodies and emotions. You get to choose if you show up at school. You get to choose if your emotions are all over the place. You get to choose how you show up in the world. You have the tools you need to regulate yourself.
You are wired to need friends. Build a community of friends that can nourish you. Change the environment around you so you can become more powerful. Learn to trust yourself. You will need to make mistakes. Learn to apologize.
Biohacking actually gives you the ability to regulate yourself, and then you have the true power. When you learn to run your body, you can be truly peaceful. With peace comes power, and that comes with working your biology and the community that you have. So put your health first and your power.
And make sure to pre-order Dave's new book, get his coffee at the event, and you will be blown away. So thank you again, Mr. Asprey, Dave.
You
and
are
thank you